Our village is located by Vu Ya River. Floods happen every year. For the last 10 years, the risk of flood has increased. The rising number of hydroelectricity dams threatens us at any time. In 2009, when the flood came up to level 3, A Vuong Hydroelectricity Dam discharged 1.5 million cubic meters of water, which caused the historical flood to all of the Dai Hom and Dai Lan communes. As far as I know, it was the most devastating flood within the last 100 years, and the water level came up to my chest. In 2009, when the flood water was getting higher and higher, I tied some rope to the loft pole. While holding the rope with one hand, I carried my husband on my back to the loft. The flood water was 2 handspans away from reaching the loft. I prayed for the rain to stop, otherwise we would die. I could remove the iron sheet roof to escape, however my husband could not. I could not stand there and watch my husband die. We would rather die together. Our neighbors had to take care of their families. No one could come to help us. My son does not have a normal life as other people. This deeply breaks my heart. The fact that he participated in the training of this project, which included drawing a hazard map and discussing issues with other people, made me feel very happy. I realized that my son deserves to live. To be honest, there were times I wondered why he would exist. Although we live in a flood area, we used to underestimate the impacts of this. Thanks to the project, I have been given more knowledge about disaster preparation, and now I understand the meaning for every person to be alive. The trainers guided us very carefully. For example, for those who can hear, we can provide an early warning through the village's loudspeaker. But for the hearing impaired, we have to give them the early warning through gestures. We were also instructed how to draw a hazard map to show how to be evacuated. Our local government became more active in disaster preparedness activities through joining this project. They allocate rescue team members who are physically strong and can swim to assist evacuation, especially for people with disabilities. Since the incredibly frightening experience I had during a flood when I was 8 years old, I felt extremely scared whenever it would rain heavily. Now that I have learned disaster preparedness activities, I am no longer scared at the prospect of flooding. I will ask friends to evacuate with me when a flood comes.
Hội giúp đỡ tỉnh Quảng Nam cùng với ban quản lý dự án thì cũng đã biên soạn được một cái tập tài liệu.
In collaboration with Project Management Board, our Quang Nam Red Cross Society developed a disability-inclusive first aid and evacuation manual for people with disabilities. From my experience of delivering first aid trainings in villages, I realized how people with disabilities participated in the planning process. They shared experiences, opinions, needs, and proposed suitable solutions to assist them in times of disaster. Wheelchair users even volunteered to advise the community of early warning signs, which has helped to include them in society. The manual contains new disability-focused knowledge. For example, how best to put a one-legged or a one-armed man in recovery position without causing further injury. From practical experience gained from the project, we have also made this manual more comprehensive and applicable to the learners. Women participated very actively during the evacuation drills. They showed greater carefulness in dressing the wounds than men did. Another advantage women possess is that they are aware of their vulnerability in disaster. Therefore, they don't underestimate any potential risks. Our members consist of many women with disabilities or those who have family members with disabilities. They have to carry a great burden. For example, Miss Nguyen Thi Liu in Dom Hoa village is paralyzed in both legs. She has not visited anyone for years due to her feelings of inferiority. When we invited her to participate in the drill, she was extremely happy. I will never forget the image of her sitting in her wheelchair and smiling in glory. Indeed, the support from the community has raised up her spirit, which has dramatically improved her quality of life. People with disabilities now have early access to flood warnings. Therefore, they can be better prepared for evacuation along with their families. This is very different from before when they just waited for help. During the trainings on CBDRM, people with disabilities recognized the importance and value of their opinions and that they can act quickly and smartly to reduce the risk of disaster. When I came to encourage people with disabilities to participate in the training, I said to them, "It's been such a long time since I've seen you. How have you been? I would like to invite you to come to a training on disaster management to help protect yourselves from disaster risks. After the training, if you're selected to be a representative for people with disabilities in Village Disaster Risk Management Committee, you can raise your voice, share your difficulties, and the needs you have in the event of disaster." This simple yet effective explanation helped people with disabilities in my village understand, and it made them eager to come to the training. Now, the people with disabilities in our village who have been trained and have been participating in other activities under this project have become more confident. Even now that the project has ended, they are still active in their preparation and ask me to prepare early before the flood season comes. Malteser International would strongly like to help improve the resilience of the community preparedness. Through our previous CBDRM project in Da Nang City and the survey made in Quang Nam province in early 2009, we noticed that people with disabilities have often been overlooked from their village's CBDRM planning process. This lack of participation increased their vulnerability as well as that of the community. In reality, people with disabilities are completely competent in their ability to contribute to their CBDRM plan if we, the non-disabled people, change our negative mindset toward their capacity and mobilize their participation appropriately, as well as village stakeholders. Village Disaster Risk Management Committee develops an action plan every year, but it is rather vague. However, since we joined this project, we are able to make it in a more logical way. This means that all members, including representatives of people with disabilities, participated in making the village CBDRM plan. Looking back, people with disabilities in the village were neglected and their needs were excluded from the village plan. Now, I understand the importance of involving people with disabilities and the effectiveness of their contribution. People with disabilities might be physically disabled. However, their minds are not disabled at all. Their participation in the planning process makes the plan more efficient and practical. Through the evacuation drill in which I participated, I have seen the activeness of people with disabilities. They have even been more enthusiastic than non-disabled people. Our perception of people with disabilities and their capacities has been incorrect. They certainly have enough capacity and enthusiasm to participate in decision-making and the implementation process. Their participation will help them to become more involved in their community and also help the community to become more resilient towards disaster risks. CBDRM is the task of all community members. People with disabilities are also members in that community. Believe in us. Give us a chance. We can do it.